Welcome back to Butchered Sports Talk. Where we're going to talk a little bit about the Game 1 of the NBA Finals 2017. As we predicted, Warriors would win Game 1. I think I was a little closer in terms of score.
Yeah, I said 25. I said 10. Final margin was 22. So basically, I was closer to what Smart Money had said, because they said about a dozen-point margin, more or less. No one really expected that big of a blowout, but yet here we are. So.
And Kevin Durant really just came out with a vengeance. What can you say about his performance?
I mean, this is why they signed him, right? This is exactly what Golden State wanted. If you look at the numbers of the Warriors as a whole, and, mainstays that they usually have, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and even in the playoffs, the Andre Iguodala legend of 2015, These are guys that did not really have their best games in Game 1. But at the same time, they had Kevin Durant, who kind of decided, I will take care of everything, guys, and just put on the hero cape and just kind of drove the point home.
He just looked so fluid. He looked like he was unstoppable, really, in this game. His shots were going down from everywhere. But not only that, he also was very aware when he needed to make an extra pass. He found Curry a couple times on threes, and just that extra level of awareness and fitting in with the team, I think, changes the dynamic. As I was watching the game, I was thinking about, the Cavs lost the first game by 15 last year. So Game 1 losses by a lot of points don't really mean that much. But in my gut, I'm saying it's a little different feel right now.
Yeah. Game 1, as much as people want to talk about, how LeBron usually doesn't have, his all-time record in Game 1 and finals has not been the most stellar. But this one has a different feel to it. It's definitely not the Warriors of old. I mean, it isn't the Cleveland Cavaliers of old either, but definitely you understand that at least from the Warriors side of this matchup, it seems like there might be a bigger margin of error than the one they had last season.
Curry looked like 2015 Finals Curry. He was hitting shots, step-back threes, just really looked great again. In the Finals last year, he wasn't quite himself. Do you see him sustaining that for 7 games? If needed, 4 games, whatever.
I mean, it's even the most passionate Warrior fan can't dismiss LeBron James' contributions. It's going to be hard. I'm going to be hard-pressed to believe a sweep until I see a 4-0 lead on the final game. But that aside, yes, I do think Curry's contributions to me seem like they're going to be consistent enough. He seems, again, just a quintessential team player. Whatever is needed in the case of the game, they needed him to make threes. He went ahead and did that. And if they can keep that up, again, Cleveland's going to have a tough time trying to take the game away at Oracle Arena.
Absolutely. You talked about it in the difference in styles in the first before the first game. You talked about how Golden State's a wide open team. They throw the ball around, they pass the ball around, they're looking for the extra pass and then shots, they're driving the lane and kicking it back out, the fast break, distribution. And the Cavaliers were kind of, as you said, ground and pound, maybe the isolation game, plodding along. Can that style still win in a finals against the Warriors, meaning the isolation style?
It's very possible. So the thing about the Warriors and their defensive schemes were the ones they show in Game 1. Who knows how much they will change it heading forward into the series, but they're very happy about switching on any defender onto any player and just making sure that player beats you, be it LeBron James or be it Tristan Thompson. It doesn't matter who has to pass the ball. The end result is that you have plenty of matchups, most notably ones like, for example, late in the fourth quarter, multiple times, Klay Thompson, a much smaller guy, switching onto someone like Kevin Love, a matchup that in most cases should be exploitable, but unfortunately Kevin Love was not able to hit enough of those easy shots to kind of get the Cleveland momentum going in a direction where the game might have ended up closer, And if they can capitalize on those mismatches that they'll sometimes have, courtesy of the defensive schemes the Warriors play, it is possible for Cleveland to definitely make this more of a series than what Game 1 leads on to believe.
And there were stretches where the Cavaliers' defense just looked discombobulated. They were running all over the place, trying to defend. Didn't look like they had a great scheme thought out in terms of trying to cover all the options that were on the court. And even when Steph Curry went out of the game and the lead either stayed the same or increased, the guys that came in for the Warriors just kept sticking with the same game plan and the scheme of passing, and the Cavaliers didn't seem to have an answer for that for many long stretches in the game. There were times where they looked a little bit better, but do you think they'll make a correction on that?
I mean, the game itself had a lot of statistical aberrations that you can't expect that will be replicated in series moving forward. I mean, you look at a Cavaliers team that coughed up 20 turnovers. As much as the Warriors' defense has been stellar all season, I don't see that happening again. I think they easily are going to cut down on that number of turnovers per game. And on the flip side, a Cavaliers team with 0 steals, that's not going to happen. That's just one of those things where, as much as there was a lot of extremes in Game 1, you kind of get the feel that heading into the next couple of games, especially once they go back to Cleveland, those numbers should even out. So it is very possible for the defensive scheme that Cleveland is doing to sustain itself. They just have to adjust here and there to just close down on some of the easier shots that went uncontested in Game 1.
Well, with all those question marks and the way things looked in Game 1, part of this is reality in the way I'm asking the questions and thinking about it. The other part is we don't know whether it's going to sustain, as you said that. And I do think in an analysis, maybe partly in hope to see a good series, maybe partly in the thought that LeBron isn't going to let this continue this way. I do think that the Warriors came out with a lot of energy. They woke up in their home beds, right? They woke up, they walked to Oracle Arena, or they rode to Oracle Arena, a short ride for most of them, obviously. Mm-hmm. They're feeling energized by the crowd. Their emotion is there, and they put it all together. They didn't play the greatest game. There were some statistical anomalies, as you mentioned. But I do think one of the things in this series that could go the Cavaliers' way is if they stick with the physical style of play that they employ, Durant could wear down and not be as crisp as he looked in, say, games 5, 6, and 7. And that's a big if. But I think if they get him to that point where he's tired out, he's not playing at home in Game 1, he's not going to look as sharp as he did in Game 1. But if they can't extend the series to a Game 6 or 7, that's not going to matter.
Pretty much. I mean, I was looking for what a ray of hope would be for any Cleveland fans that might feel a little down after the performance in Game 1. And there is one stat that's been spreading around all the sports networks out there. That's actually a funny one, because you wouldn't think to associate one with the other. But the Warriors last night became the third team in all time in the finals to produce a game with only 4 turnovers.
What were the other teams?
The other 2 teams being the 2005 Pistons with Chauncey Billups and the law firm known as Prince Wallace and Wallace, and the 2013 San Antonio Spurs. Unfortunately for both of those teams, despite such a brilliant performance in that one game, respectively, both of them went on to lose their series. And in a finals that's going to be as potentially history-making as this one, it seems pretty telling that, that stat really goes to find one game does not a series make. There is very much a lot of basketball still to be played.
Okay. A little bit of rest between games 1 and 2. Next game 2, is on Sunday. What players are you looking to step up in particular on Sunday?
Oh, I'm looking forward to see what Kyrie Irving has to bring to the table. He had a very oddly quiet night in Game 1.
In spite of the 20-plus point performance.
I mean, Kyrie just was. If you looked at the Kyrie of the Eastern Conference playoffs, this was a Kyrie Irving that, much like LeBron, could just impose his will in games. And it's one of those things where obviously he has a good teacher to learn from, with LeBron James, of here's the blueprint of how to take over a game, hypothetically, and this is what you do, and just, go to town, get it done. And I expect him to be a much more solid performer for the Cavaliers in Game 2. Klay Thompson on the Warriors side, I believe, is someone that can probably step up a little more. Not really a question of if he was stepping up or not in Game 1, as much as the looks that he was getting just weren't there. Shots weren't falling. And a shooter of the caliber as Klay Thompson, much like Steph Curry, they'll go through slumps, but eventually they come out of it. And you just hope, if you're on the opposite team, that they don't come out of it in your game. So that's going to be the one player I'm looking forward to, at least on the offensive side, for the Warriors to really bring it and just give it another weapon that the Cavaliers will have to worry about on the defensive side.
I agree with you on Kyrie. I think he had a quiet, even though he scored a bunch of points, he wasn't a game changer. And I think he has it in him to be a game changer, and I look for him to have a lot of fire in Game 2. Klay Thompson, I think he had a great defensive game. We mentioned how he was an underrated defensive player before Game 1. He's been in a shooting slump for most of the playoffs. I mean, I think he'll bust out of it at some point in time. I don't know that it'll really matter for the Warriors. They're going to get their points from somewhere, but it is another weapon that could be a problem for the Cavaliers. Prediction, Game 2.
It's tough, because if any team has proven that they can bounce back from losses, especially this season, it's Cleveland, absolutely. But I'm going to stick Warriors. I believe that, much like last year's finals, the Warriors will end up with I believe they had a 12 lead.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And I think they will do that again. I don't think it's going to be quite as lopsided. I think we're looking maybe at a 5-7 point margin at most. I'm expecting a close game where basically free throws towards the end of the fourth quarter make it so that it ends up being that final margin. But I expect a close contest the entire way.
I agree with you. Warriors win Game 2. Last year, to go up 2-0, they won the game by 33 points. I don't see that this year. I do see a little wider margin than what you're predicting, but not as bad as Game 1. I think it'll be about a 12-point Warriors win this game, but a little bit more competitive throughout the game. Cleveland has to find a way to play a better defensive style, and I think Toronto will figure that out to some extent. But being at home for the Warriors will be too much in Game 2 for the Cavaliers.
It's a tough place to try to get a road win. I mean, as it was, Oracle Arena was always a very loud place, especially when the fans were dialed in. You look back at the so-called Steph Curry era, if you will, and you remember when they made that miraculous run in 2007. That was a loud place. And now you're talking about a place that has gotten to enjoy the continued success that this iteration of the Warriors have been going through. It's a tough arena to get a win out of.
It sure is. Well, sports fans, enjoy Game 2. From here in Baltimore on a deck on a windy night, Richard Sports, Jorge and Frank.
Hey.